I'm Brian LaMaster here at LaMaster Arms, and I'd like to bring a few things to your attention that I find interesting. There's a couple items that have come into the shop, and one I've had in my collection for some time, and I'd like to be able to share these things. We're all students of like the Kentucky Rifle or European Arms, and when there's something that comes down the line that's really unusual, I like to be able to share it. Normally I take things to gun shows that I'm going to and show it to friends and different people so they get to enjoy it as well. But I'm fortunate to be able to have this platform to be able to say, hey, these are some items you might learn from. So first thing is I've got a little rifle here that's probably 1720s to 1740s, very early. We're talking about Patchboxes. Now this gun doesn't have a patchbox. Early guns tend to have what's called a wooding sliding patchbox. There was a cavity that would be cut into the stock, and then it would have a dovetailed lid that would slide from the back forward and then have a latch on the back that caught in there. The pros and the cons is that it did make for a cavity. You could put some tools in, maybe some tow, maybe a couple lead balls, or your cleaning jag inside the box itself. They tend to rattle when they get dried out, and sometimes when it rains you can't get the lid off. That was the progression. They pretty much started doing this hinge patchbox that was coming forward. We'll touch on that some other time. The focus today isn't so much this gun. It's a prop, just so I can show how these little guys were made. What this is, where most patchbox lid covers were all one piece of wood. They had the dovetail cut into the same piece of wood. It was on the bottom. Many times they'll have decorative carving or lines cut in the top of the lid itself that decorated just the overlay portion. This is actually a piece of bone. You can see the porousness on the back. Had pins and was probably glued on most likely, but it does have pins across here and the forward end. Actually has a little running dog. In the front of it, it has kind of like a Rococo shell design. Very similar to like the Edward Marshall rifle that had it on the tail section of that wooden lid. This is probably European, but there's potential it could be American. When it comes into this early period in the early 1700s, it's very difficult. Many of the gunsmiths that came over, they were already trained gunsmiths when they got here, and they did their trade when they got here. So, interesting item. That little piece I've had in my collection a couple years, that shows you pretty much how this laid. And it would have just been attached to the dovetail base. One that's even more interesting to me is a cow horn cover. This would have been most likely hide glued to a rounded cover base itself with the dovetail. It does have two little pinholes in the forward and the back. Somebody said when they saw it, oh, it's probably a powder horn that's been cut down. That's not the case, because if you look at this angle that's on the back, it goes along with the angle that goes on the butt plate itself, and it has moldings engraved on it. The neat thing is it has the British coat of arms. It has a little owl on the front, and down here at the very base, it has the date 1766, so it's extremely early. Now, I don't necessarily think it may have come off of a German Jaeger. I have seen a few English guns that were made with sliding boxes on it, but there's a good chance it could be American because of the folk art form that you're seeing on the two ends. You do have the British coat of arms in the middle. So just a couple items I found were really interesting. And so many times when pieces are in museums, you don't get to see them up close, so we're going to give you as many details on these as possible. I know within the next year I'll be building a rifle and it's going to have a horn cover on, because I think these are extremely rare and really neat. We're very blessed to be able to have some great things come into our shop, and we're happy to be able to share them with you. And stick with us, because we're going to keep doing some videos on tools and things as we get interesting things coming in. So stick with us. Thank you.